Sound.
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 Sound. Sound. Sound.
Founding sound.
Amatue tue, amatue tue langa langa tue, amatue tue, amatue tue langa langa tue. Zum ta ta zum ta zum ta ta zum ta 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 ta. My name is Tânia, Tânia Pereira do Amaral. I was born and raised in Mozambique, which is a country in southeast side of Africa. I'm a dance teacher, dance educator as well, because I see some kind of difference between those two. I don't see myself as a choreographer because I think and I see dance as always as an improvisation. I'm a very much cultural activist for the different cultures and dances in Africa. I'm the creator, together with my husband, of this dance style that it's called Afrofusion Sharky dance, which is now a trademarking, and which is a fusion dance style that combines all these different elements from different dance styles from all over Africa. It was really a way for me to open my eyes as well to see like, oh, wow. I always knew about my country and the continent Africa that, oh yeah, this is very diverse. But then when you really start to see in practice with all these different details, how really it's rich, and how people see their own dances and their own rhythms and how they perceive and understand the sounds that they do. It makes you noble in a way, I feel it, but also makes you so proud as well. So I'm always, when I'm teaching my students, I'm always trying to make sure that they understand that, listen, we're gonna do this movement that is coming from this dance, that is coming from this country, that is located in this region. So immediately here, I'm doing geography and I'm doing history. So then I say, like, in this movement, you have to put energy here or there, then you have to be with this body in the space and understand that you have to strike here to move the pelvis there, and etc. So immediately here, I'm explaining the aesthetic of the movement. It's not just doing a movement for the sake of doing it, and that's it. No. There's always something behind in every gesture that we do when we're doing that movement. After that, it's like, okay, now let's play the rhythm. So you can understand this rhythm that you're gonna use. And the rhythm can be something, for example, from South Africa, like, now let me explain you this rhythm, where it's coming from, why it's important, why people recognize it. So again, I'm doing history and culture now related to the rhythm. So the students, they're not just learning a movement, they're understanding history, geography, they're understanding the culture behind it, and they're understanding all of that in an Afrocentric point of view. So they will see like, oh, how I can respect that. It's not just doing because we have to do it in a class. And I feel that is very important. Dance, it's a language. For many African cultures, I don't want to say for all African cultures, but pretty much for my research, I believe for the whole African cultures, but we see as a language. And as a language, we see as a way of communicating. So as sometimes I say to my students, it's like you are listening the music through the body. So everything that you do with your body, every gesture, every movement, where you put that energy, if you're putting in the shoulder, if you're putting in the eyes, if you're putting in the head, when you look to one spot or over the other, when you're moving around in space, how you're moving the pelvis, if you're gonna put more effort in the pelvis or more effort in the spine or more energy on the foot when you're stomping the ground, when you're doing a jumping. So all of that is just like as a language when you find somebody speaks Portuguese from Portugal, and then you find somebody that speaks Portuguese from Brazil, you can see there's a kind of nuances of the words, you know, there's a melody, there's a sound of the words when they're speaking. So dance for us is the same thing. It's like it's a sound that you create with the body. Every movement creates a kind of a melody, a kind of a rhythm. So you use that body to communicate. That's why you can find in certain cultures that the melody doesn't come from a musical instrument. For example, you find that in the Maasai people, it's based on this breathing that they do in every time they're doing their dances. Or you can find in other cultures is the way they clap the hands, how they move the tongue as they do the sounds with the mouth. Other cultures you will find different instruments. You can go from the drums, or you can wind instruments. So all of that, it's just a way that people uses together, that music, that melody, that sound, that rhythm. And you always put that together with movements, with a dance, as a way to communicate. So that is why when somebody dies, we dance. We dance for the grieving. We can cry during the dance, or even we can laugh during the dance, because we remember all the good things of that person. When somebody is born, when people accomplish certain kind of things during their lives, we always have that dance, that movement inside of the households, with the families, with the cousins, with the aunties, with the parents, with the daughters and the sons, all of that. Then we go to the weddings, to the parties, even go to the discos, but all of that is as a way to really express ourselves, communicate something through the body, through the movement. It's not just a step to move from point A to point B. It's much more than that. So all the static of the movements, and then we bring that and we create a melody, a rhythm through the body. So I think it's very important that people always try to see dances in Africa in that Afrocentric point of view. Because different cultures have different ways of doing things, and even though we have all this diversity in the continent, there's also a lot of things that are very similar among us. And one of the things that I found that is very similar among all these different cultures and this diversity that we find in the continent is this way of using the body to communicate. Sometimes we don't even have to speak. It's not about the facial expressions. It's just about like how this energy is coming, how this movement is being done. And then the dust is coming up or not. Or we are stomping the ground or not. What is the sound sometimes that we do when we shake our body? So musicality, rhythm, sound is always very much married with movements. So we don't see them as a separate thing. They always have to come together. And they always have to come together with this kind of purpose of, I want to say something through the body. And it's interesting, I think, for me to see how people, even along all these occupations and all these situations as the slavery and then the colonization, we still didn't lose our dances, our identity, our cultures, with all of that happens for so many years, like 5 centuries, then colonization. But we transform, we adapt, we change. Even the rhythms change a little bit here, a little bit there. The sound now is more towards this or towards that, but everything is always to express ourselves and our cultures. So for me, that is something that I think it's so unique, so beautiful that African people were able to do it. Of course, that we still can find dances that are practiced the same from generations on generations, but there's other ones that they're starting to change a little bit to accommodate the challenge of the community, let's say like that. And people always could see a beauty, a something to express, something to show, even when everything around them was chaotic, even when everything was ugly around them, even when they're losing their villages, being raided, and they're losing their people, they've been killed. That's something that all over these years still survived. And what is always survived along all these years mostly are the dances, the music, and all this sound and all this this marriage between the both of them, and I think that it's fantastic, beautiful, yeah.
Sukhi Sangha is the owner of Vancouver Island Bhangra. Originally from North Delta, Sukhi started her Bhangra dance training at the age of 5 and went on to compete across North America in Bhangra competitions, even competing in Poland's Got Talent. She moved to Nanaimo in 2020.
It was during the pandemic, and when I was here, I felt like something was missing, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And it was something that I really loved and I enjoyed doing. And finally, I was like, it's Bhangra. I Googled it. I Googled Vancouver Island Bhangra, Nanaimo Bhangra, Victoria. Nothing would show up. So I talked to my husband and I was like, you know what? I think I'm just gonna try. I'm gonna try starting a Bhangra dance class here in Nanaimo. Mind you, it was a pandemic, so I couldn't really start anything, so I had to wait it out. I contacted the city of Nanaimo and, bless Taz Hartwick. He's no longer here with us, but he helped me set up a Bhangra fitness program with the city of Nanaimo. I find that not many people know what Bhangra dance is here in Nanaimo. And what I really want to do is just spread the joy and positive vibes of Bhangra. It's a dance that anyone and everyone can do, even if it's just, I teach my kids that are aged 3 to 5 in my Bhangra fitness class, the city of Nanaimo, even if you're just moving your finger, okay, that's a start, right? And just to get the sense of the dance, listening to the music, the sound, and just a slight little movement, it's dancing. Many people that come to my Bhangra dance classes actually don't know what they're signing up for. So the very first thing I do is I have a world map, especially for my kids class, and I show them, we're over here in Nanaimo and we're gonna learn a dance all the way from the northern part of India, Punjab. So from Punjab, that's where Bhangra dance had originated. It was a dance that was done to celebrate the harvest festival, and it was mainly done by men. Women did a different type of dance, which was called Gidda. And Gidda is more singing and dancing. It's theatrical. They do a lot of clapping. So that's the type of dance that women did, Gidda. Whereas men, they did Bhangra dancing. However, women also did Bhangra dancing, especially during weddings. Bhangra is a very joyous dance. It's a lot of big hand movement, a lot of footwork, squats, which I know a lot of people love. I actually do love doing squats, so you'll always find those in my Bhangra fitness classes. But Bhangra dance, it's celebrating weddings, any joyous occasions, birthdays, and now there's Bhangra dance competitions. Anybody can do it. Whereas if you go back in time, it was just mainly men that used to do the Bhangra. But it's so nice that we've evolved. We're infusing different types of music and sound. We use dolls. We have live singing to do the Bhangra dancing. And it's a dance that I would say, like for me personally, like Vancouver Island Bhangra, I've started it because I just want to spread the joy and positive vibes of Bhangra. Anyone can do it. It brings people together. Like when I dance for Victoria Day at Centennial Square, I'll be dancing by myself and slowly people start trickling in towards me, or I see people just standing on the side, moving their shoulders, they're grooving, that's dancing. But it's such a happy dance. You'll never see an angry Bhangra dancer. If you do, I would like you to send me a video of that because I would love to see that. So the evolution of the music from when Bhangra first started, it was done to celebrate the harvest festival in Punjab. So in the farmlands, they used to do Bhangra to dole a lot of different instruments such as the jimta and sarangi, a lot of live singing. But now it's evolved so much. Now we're dancing to various forms of music. We're dancing to Bhangra dance music, Bollywood, hip hop, R&B, Celtic. It's so nice because you can do Bhangra to literally anything. Okay, so one of the main instruments that you'll see anytime there's Bhangra music playing or at a wedding, a dance competition is a dole. And you'll see a doli, which will have the dole around his neck. It's a pretty heavy drum. It's a double-headed drum, and it can play dozens of rhythms. I've tried playing it personally, but I'm more of a dancer than a doli, so I haven't tried it again. But it's such a loud, vibrant instrument, and it definitely gets you dancing. So since Bhangra was done to celebrate the Harvest Festival, what is the Harvest Festival? Basically, the northern part of India, there's a lot of farmland there. Like my family, everybody's more or less a farmer in India, and that's their main source of income there. So whenever they had a great season, everybody's celebrating. And Bhangra dance is a great way to celebrate because it brings everybody together and anybody can do it.
Something else that brings people together is the enjoyment of listening to and creating music. Musician and producer Aaron James, who goes by the artist name Sugar Wolf, owns Dreamhouse Studios in Nanaimo, where musicians can record or rehearse their songs.
I think that sound of music has a huge part of our evolution, and as a species, it's obviously very cultural. It's a common myth that cultures use to bind people together, which throughout our history has been very important just because those common myths have allowed us to have a certain level of kinship with people that are much more estranged to us than the core tribe of old, where you would have small pockets of humanity in these big nations. It's interesting always looking at the common thread of music within cultures. Like Canada is obviously, like, the Tragically Hip is a really good example of that. It's something that every Canadian knows about this band and knows their music. For some reason, we all identify with it and we all tend to enjoy it. I've really never met many people that don't like them or don't at least appreciate them. And every other country has these things. They have their own kind of, folken heroes. And I always find that interesting when I talk to people from different parts of the world, like what their Tragically Hip is, and they'll tell you, like you get a song in a bar somewhere and everybody knows the words and they sing together, and so it's a type of unifying art form that allows people to connect without having to know one another. And I think that's just a tiny fraction of the depth of music and art in general and how it helps pull people in. I mean, it's throughout the history, it's fueled revolutions, it's brought peace to areas, it's done, it's capable of doing incredible things. And I think that really has a lot to do with our evolution and where we came from over the last 500,000 years. And for some reason, music has been a big part of culture since the beginning of culture. And as a musician or somebody that listens very closely to music, you can hear music in almost everything. And something that is kind of a side note that I find really interesting is how the language center of the brain forms in children. And if it doesn't form by a certain age, then it won't form at all. And that means that before we had language, children had to listen to the environment. They had to listen to what was around them, and it was up to children to develop a language that was undeveloped. So I find that endlessly fascinating. And the response that children have to music is very evident. Like anyone that has had or been around children sees the way that they respond to music, live or not. And you can tell this sort of primordial importance of it by their reaction. And it's one of those things that people, I think, take for granted in environments that it's just kind of a given that music's going to be there, but when it's not there, there's a noticeable lack of something important. And you know, to the individual, to the people that make the music, to the people that listen to it, it's very healing. It is revelatory for what we go through. It's like a timestamp for an emotional era of what's going on in people's lives, and in very interesting ways, not always super obvious. But when you listen to music from the 20s or the 30s or 40s, there's something indicative about those eras. And, you know, whether it's like through the Depression, music is very silly and happy and upbeat. I think as a tool to keep people's motivation going and to keep people's spirits high, and so it's endlessly an interesting topic to think about the effect that music has, and even just like sound in general, and the way that we operate. As much as we are very influenced by light and how we see, we're very influenced by sound and how we hear. One of the things that I've found in being in the commercial world and in the music industry is that people think that to be a songwriter, or the purpose of being a songwriter, is to engage in the commercial aspect of music. But what I found with people who I've worked with here is that they don't need to be a commercial artist to have the benefits of writing music and recording music. You can work through problems. You can have real revelations just through the process of sitting down and writing. And then singing, I think, is a hugely beneficial type of energy release. And whether you're good at it or you're not good at it, or you want to do it professionally, or you know, you like to do it for fun, it's hugely beneficial to sit down and write out an issue and tell yourself, you know, walk yourself through a story of your life and put it onto a piece of physical music. And then that whole process is very healing. So I found that with people that have come in here, that is reason alone to make music, is just to dedicate time to putting consciousness into your own experience and figuring out how that relates to other people and their experiences. And I think it's something that everybody should do in a commercial environment or otherwise. It's hugely beneficial. I think some people can't, and I've always said that that's kind of the responsibility of the songwriter or the artist of whatever the medium is, that you're there to kind of give people insight into their own lives. And that's why we connect with certain songs so much, is that it's somebody is speaking our words for us when we can't. But the ability to do it it's anyone can do it. And when you remove the idea of commercial success being the only possible way that you can have a success with something, and you enter into it just with the idea that it's therapeutic and that it's going to be an exercise in looking at yourself for whatever reason, then it becomes hugely beneficial to the individual and potentially hugely beneficial to other people that hear the thing that you create. Because ultimately that's all a song becomes at the end of it, is something that you offer to other people. And I think a lot of people undervalue in their conscious participation with music, they undervalue its importance. But I think deep down we all really know how important music is. And especially for us musicians, it's like the one saving grace that we can turn to make ourselves feel better in times that are shaky, and that we need something to lean on. It's like a really good drug for the soul.
Les animaux of the telephone, we are just monkeys with money and guns. Les anymore avec des bombes, planting our seeds of rotten conundrum. Fire from the witch hunt, burns brighter and brighter.